Napoleon Bonaparte. The name alone conjures images of power, a man who redrew the map of Europe, an emperor and a general whose ambition seemed boundless. He strode across the continent, making kings and breaking empires, his armies seemingly invincible. For years his word was law. He was the master of his destiny, or so it seemed. But power is fleeting. Then came the fall Waterloo. The unstoppable emperor was finally stopped. His enemies, the crowned heads of Europe, breathed a sigh of relief. What to do with such a man? He had escaped exile once before, from Elba, and returned to reclaim his throne for 100 days. This time, they chose a place so remote, so desolate, that escape would be unthinkable. His world shrank from an empire to a tiny, windswept island in the South Atlantic. Napoleon died on Saint Helena in 1821, at just 51. The official cause, stomach cancer. But almost immediately, whispers began. Had he truly died of natural causes? Or was there something more sinister at play? These weren't idle rumors. Serious questions were asked by those who knew him best. The shadow of doubt has lingered ever since. Was Napoleon a victim of disease? Or was he slowly, secretly murdered? The questions surrounding his final days have fascinated historians, scientists, and conspiracy theorists for 2 centuries. We're going to delve into this mystery, explore the evidence, and see if we can unravel the truth behind who, or what, really killed Napoleon. Prepare yourself. This is a story of power, intrigue, and a death that refuses to rest in peace. Let's begin. If you're intrigued by the mystery so far, give this video a like, and subscribe to uncover the full truth. We're just getting started. Why Saint Helena? Security. After Napoleon's escape from Elba, his captors needed a place from which escape was impossible. Saint Helena was thousands of miles from Europe, surrounded by sheer cliffs and the British Navy. Imagine Napoleon's thoughts as he sailed toward this final destination, a long, grim voyage into oblivion. Once a ruler of empires, now a prisoner on an island he'd never heard of. The conditions were harsh, damp, unhealthy climate, barren landscapes, and profound isolation. News from the outside world was slow and censored. For a man used to action and information, this solitude was a psychological cage. The Allied powers, Britain, Austria, Prussia, Russia, wanted him gone, not just from France, but from history. Saint Helena was meant to be his living tomb, a place to erase the legend of Napoleon. But history and Napoleon had other ideas. The island would become the stage for his final act, and for a mystery that endures. Here, the legend would not die quietly. The world would keep asking, what really happened on Saint Helena? Napoleon's exile began at the Briars, but soon he was moved to Longwood House, a damp, rat-infested building, far from imperial comfort. The wind howled through ill-fitting windows. The atmosphere was oppressive. Napoleon tried to maintain routines, dictating memoirs, reading, gardening, holding court with his small retinue. These rituals were his way of clinging to identity, resisting the erosion of his spirit. Life at Longwood was under constant British surveillance, especially from Governor Sir Hudson Lowe. Lowe's strict regulations and mutual animosity with Napoleon only deepened the emperor's isolation. Napoleon's health began to decline. Lethargy, stomach pains, persistent coughs, weakness. His once sturdy physique faded. His legendary drive deserted him. Was it the climate, the conditions, the psychological strain, or something more insidious? His companions watched with alarm as the emperor faded before their eyes. The slow decline was unmistakable. The question, was it natural or was something else at work? The seeds of suspicion were sown. The mystery deepened. The British, especially Governor Lowe, often dismissed Napoleon's health complaints as exaggeration or manipulation. Lowe's reports painted Napoleon as a hypochondriac, a difficult prisoner seeking sympathy or leverage. Distrust ran deep. The British feared being duped by the master strategist. Serious symptoms were often met with skepticism, delaying proper care. In contrast, Napoleon's French companions and his physician, Dr. Antomarchi, saw a man genuinely ill and wasting away. Their diaries detail his suffering, declining appetite, persistent pain, fever, weakness. They pleaded for better conditions and more medical attention, often in vain. These conflicting narratives, British skepticism versus French alarm, created a fog of confusion. Was Napoleon truly sick or playing a part? The disagreement over his health laid the groundwork for controversy after his death. Even in life, the seeds of doubt were sown. The truth was already obscured. The stage was set for enduring mystery. Napoleon was vocal about his fears. He believed he was being poisoned. He told his companions, his doctors, and even wrote that he was being murdered by the English oligarchy. These were not the ramblings of a delirious man, but the suspicions of someone who felt targeted. He distrusted his captors, suspecting tainted food, wine, even water. Sometimes he refused certain dishes, fearing a slow, methodical plot. He pointed fingers at the English, sometimes directly at Governor Low. The psychological burden of constant fear was immense. Napoleon knew his own body. He felt his strength ebbing away. He wanted a physician he could trust, and doubted the care he received on Saint Helena. Did these fears worsen his illness? Possibly. Or were they justified? Was there a covert operation to ensure he never left the island alive? Napoleon's chilling assertion, "They are murdering me," cannot be dismissed. His suspicions became central to his tragic narrative. They demand we consider the darkest possibilities. The emperor's paranoia or prescience? The question lingers. If you think there's more to this than meets the eye, hit that like button. And subscribe, because the truth is only getting darker. By late April 1821, Napoleon was bedridden, racked with pain and weakness. He dictated his will, expressing grievances and love for France and his son. His final words, "France, armée, tête d'armée, Josephine." On May 5, 1821, Napoleon died. His loyal companions and British doctors at his side. The world was stunned. The man who had dominated Europe was gone. The next day, an autopsy was performed by Dr. Antomarchi and 7 British doctors. The official reports stomach cancer with a large ulcerated lesion in his stomach. His liver was enlarged, but not the primary cause. Napoleon's father had died of stomach cancer, suggesting heredity. The verdict seemed to close the case, but doubts lingered, especially among his followers. The official story was accepted, but the whispers never stopped. The controversy was just beginning. For over a century, stomach cancer was the accepted cause of Napoleon's death, until the 1960s. Swedish dentist Dr. Sten Forshavud studied Napoleon's symptoms and suspected chronic arsenic poisoning. He obtained authenticated samples of Napoleon's hair, preserved since exile. Using neutron activation analysis, scientists found significantly elevated arsenic levels. The timeline of exposure suggested intermittent poisoning over years, not a single dose. This was a bombshell. Scientific evidence seemed to support the poisoning theory. The findings were published in major journals, reigniting debate. Was the cancer a result of arsenic, or did the poison simply weaken him? The questions multiplied. Suddenly, the theory of murder was no longer just fantasy. The case was dramatically reopened. The world demanded answers. Was Napoleon poisoned, or was there another explanation? The mystery deepened. If Napoleon was poisoned, who did it, and why? The British had motive to ensure he never threatened Europe again. They controlled his environment, food, and medicine. French royalists also had motive. Napoleon was a threat to the restored monarchy. Could they have infiltrated his entourage or delivered poison through an intermediary? Some theories point to someone within Napoleon's own household. Count Montholon, a beneficiary in his will, is often named. He had access to arsenic, possibly for rat poison and personal motives, but this remains speculative. There's also the theory of accidental poisoning. Arsenic was common in medicines, pesticides, even wallpaper. Could Napoleon have been poisoned by his environment or by misguided medical care? The accidental route is less sensational but plausible. The suspects and scenarios are many, none conclusive. The debate over Napoleon's death remains unsettled. Some scientists argue the arsenic levels weren't lethal, or that such exposure was common in the 19th century. Others insist the pattern of arsenic in his hair points to deliberate poisoning. One theory blames environmental arsenic. The green wallpaper at Longwood may have released toxic vapors. Napoleon could have inhaled these fumes daily, explaining chronic exposure. Yet many historians still believe stomach cancer was the primary cause, supported by autopsy and family history. Was it cancer, accidental poisoning, or murder? Each theory has its champions and flaws. After 2 centuries, the mystery endures. What do you believe happened on that remote island? The final verdict is still unwritten.